indeed, the earth as a spirit itself, female spirit, has been just like a woman would attempting to make decisions and deciding what it wants to do. It's a conscious being. And there's been many as you see, the larger planetary systems that have sought to make influence. And how you can understand the whole world is still a fractal or a small piece of everything that's going on in outer space. That's exactly what women face now in their life. Is you have one individual who may have succeeded in life and is just more influential as a character, like a guy who's just, he has things going on with business, et cetera, and he's attempting to influence her consciousness. And then at the same time, you have other male factions that are playing a different role in attempting to influence her consciousness, even sometimes by force. And so what you have in the end is that everyone has to go to a point where they go internal for a moment at least, understanding how to operate both worlds, because if there's always an external idea of things, meaning I need to go out here and do this, I need to make sure that this is together, then the inside is starving. And so what we see with most individuals, because the poles are definitely changing and then the magnetic influence is definitely picking up, what's happening with most individuals, they're unlocking the other side of themselves. And that's really something that the ancients, even the recents, knew how to do, playing around with magnets and monatomic goals and different things like this, of how to turn on the other side of the brain, which is more individual. It's the actual, for better lack of words, fingerprint. It's what's different about us, or what they actually call the Bomar gene. It's amazing that that's actually my last name, but it's what makes each and every single one of us individual. And so, yeah, definitely I see as the female consciousness at this point has an option, just like the male consciousness does. You can either ride with the negative side of Venus, which seems to be what's doing a lot of the influence negatively over women, or what we just call the V. It seems to be an androgynous being, by the way. It doesn't seem to be just male, but also female, and playing both roles. But you can either choose that, which is in the forefront and in the scene of everything, the Victoria, or she could choose to not choose and see what she really is. And that's, again, what we're all facing at this point. We can either emulate, as men, some of these suns, or dying suns, as they keep calling them. Notice a lot of people are worshiping dying suns. Right. Or we can go to seeing, what's beyond the sun. And that's what I believe that what happened initially with our testing knowledge is we didn't question if there were higher knowledge before we actually delved in some of the things. A lot of the people that are what they're involved in, they didn't question, is there higher than this? They just immediately went to what was given to them. And that is also the danger with some of these elders that are out now they're really just warlocks. I've seen 1,000 of these guys. I mean, they but you can go ahead, Sevan, because I've almost got off the topic. But make sure I get back to that topic, brother.
But I also want another, because I'm an Aries, April 15th, and I wanted to know how that linked, because I do have like a male dominancy of, and I know Mars is lined up with that planet, within my birth month. So how do I relate with that? Because I know sometimes I can be, real kind, and then I could just, get kind of pissed off. Whoa, I didn't know you could be like that. You're so nice. But how do Mars kind of affect? Because no one really talks about the Aries. Well, see, the thing is a lot of people are just being what they say they are. It's like a Jedi mind trick. It's like, this is what you're supposed to be. Oh, that's how I am. You see, it seems SS, meaning it's the serpent, definitely, keeping tracks of the stars for aeons to know when beings were going to be born that were stronger, weaker, etc. And when these beings' records were up for taking, the reason why they were so valuable, because it was so difficult to keep track of the stars, because stars now, with all these other extraterrestrial bodies that we have docked within our system, you could be thinking you're looking at a star, but do you have a ship to go and see? Like one time when I flew with my astral body out of Earth, I ended up, I had this idea of heaven,
And this was early in life, but I still had the lucid ability, and I flew out of Earth, and I was outside of Earth, and I had nothing to stand up. Like I was kind of slipping out there, and it was all black. And I was looking and seeing certain things in the distance, and then I finally decided to just break the lucid sleep. And I realized that whatever they wanted you to see out there, they could really show you if you had no way of verifying it. And anyone that was actually out there, I mean, if you actually had a real physical ship to be out there, you were in the club with them. You were in the organizations that have trekked space, or the psychonauts, as they call themselves. If you were leaving for the physical ship. But there's beings that look at, when you leave Earth with the physical ship, they just kind of shake their head because they realize that, you're the first thing, you don't go. You go in there. You have a light body inside of you, and that's, that can take multiple people and yourself. And so this is again, a lot of this content is a lot longer and from a level of understanding and foreign sometimes. But when we realize it, when you play some of these recordings back and think about it on a simple level, it kind of makes perfect sense. Oxygen is going to always be what holds the material of the body from going too far out in space, lest man contaminate things with his ideas. Like you can't even when they're doing a self-sufficient system inside of a space shuttle, it still only goes so far. And I don't know how we got into quantum mechanics, but basically what I'm saying is that there's fail-safes to keep a person from getting into higher levels of thought. And there's also hindrances to keep a person into higher levels of thought. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to erase everything that they said about us. Go to the end of your story, for better lack of words. There's a book, I believe it's called The Book of Destiny. It's written by a Hebrew Kabbalist. And this book, you can, I believe, find it. It's a huge book, but you can find it for like $13, $14 on Amazon. And this book, it's very weird when a person reads this book. We've watched people, when they read the book, they most of the time cry because what's written on the page is exactly who they are, like to the teeth. And these are, of course, Kabbalists, old Jewish men with long beards, they cook this thing together. So what I realized after I wrote the book after I read the book and I read about me, I went to the end. After reading through it, I said, okay, I'm going to start from here, because they were right. It was literally like whatever they've done in this system, when you adapt this zodiac and these birthdays and all of this other data, they know exactly what you're going to be about. They pigeonhole you. It's like the moment that you say, my name is James. Okay, James goes down one pigeonhole. It's IMS. Then it's like a computer processing the information, born here, date here. And it does this stuff so fast that it immediately knows where you're going to be, what decision you're going to make. And what people have to start doing is they have to be rare. They have to start moving in mysterious ways again, be pinpointed, meaning that your next move is not predictable anymore. You just go to your parents and say, hey, I'm leaving. What do you mean? Don't ask me. I got something I'm doing. This is how I really move about life. I don't have to move unpredictable, or else you suffer the consequences only of people.
I see. Yeah. Thank you so much for calling in, sister. Yeah, you posed some excellent questions. And always a pleasure to have you. Please stick around. There's a lot more information to come, sis.
Thank you. You all have a good night.
Thank you. You too, beloved sis. Peace. And before we move on to our next caller, we just want to acknowledge another master in the house who's also a dear friend of ours and also a part of the family, who is here representing Sovereign Mind Radio, Brother Lennon Honor. I see you out there in the chat room, brother. Always a pleasure to have the scholars in the house. And Brother Lennon doesn't know it yet, but he's going to be on with us next week. And I'll be in his ear about that tomorrow. But welcome, brother. Always a pleasure to have you in the house. And with that, we're going to move on to our next caller. Ooh, yeah, the switchboard is really swinging tonight. We have a caller from the 313 area code. Caller, are you there? Caller, are you there? Oh, I guess they're just listening. Oh, well, I don't blame them. Believe me, with this type of information, I'd just be sitting back and listening too.